afternoon, everyone.
How are you, John?
I'm doing good. Just getting my mic all set up. There we go.
Yeah. Well, we had this set up and then we had friends over, so we tried to clean up the living room. That's what happens
I
around here.
know. I'm like, okay, there we go. That's better.
And we also need to probably get a better
Mount.
mount for the camera, but that's right. So today we are talking about job losses, mortgage defaults, and what you can do about it. So, Johnny, you told me not long ago that there were a lot of layoffs in the tech sector.
Everybody's kind of picking that up now on the news, and but early in the year, it was kind of apparent that a lot of this stuff was going to happen and come down the pipe. So the question is, now that it has come down the pipe and now that it's here, what do you do about it?
Right. So lots and lots in the tech sector. There have been other sectors affected, but there's nowhere for them to get a job. There were millions of people laid off, and now what do they do? Where do they go? What are their options? You could go and try to get another job. Probably not in the tech sector. You could get another job that's not paying you as much. And what do you do about that loss of income? So obviously, if you're getting unemployment, that's not going to be that much. If you're living off your severance, that's not going to pay out forever. So you need solutions. You need options for what to do. So if you can't pay your mortgage, the first thing to do is contact your lender. So call them, see if they have any sort of program where they can give you a month respite from the payments. You can ask them if they could recast your loan. You can just talk to them about options. Doesn't mean that you have to take them up on any of them, but just see what the options are available to you in that moment. But this video is primarily for those of you that are not at that point yet, that are still, living off that severance, that still have some money in the bank, that have that savings, you're, dipping into, or you may be in jeopardy of losing your job. And so now you're trying to figure out what your options are. So the first one, which is going to seem silly, is, you have assets for a reason. Maybe think about selling some of those assets. But there's one in particular that I probably wouldn't sell. Now, you said there's been a resurgence of Airstreams on the market. There's a lot more of them coming up because people aren't traveling as much. What about you keep the Airstream or the trailer and find a friend's property to park it on, go live in that, and then rent out your house?
So here's where it gets interesting for me. I have many friends that get into different situations like what's happening now in the tech sector, and they don't want to change. Okay. So the first thing that I do personally is get rid of all the dead weight. So it's as simple as this. Go into your garage, start cleaning out the garage. Then go into your, house, your closet, start cleaning out the house and closets. Get rid of stuff, donate it, sell it on eBay, sell it on Craigslist. Just get rid of dead weight. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to open you up to having more space, more time. You're getting basically all this weight off of your shoulders because right now, when you lose your job, when you go through any crisis situation, it just feels like the weight of the world is on your shoulders.
Yeah.
So get some of that weight off by decluttering, and some of that stuff. Then, look at the assets. What's the benefit of keeping this asset? What's the draw of keeping this other asset? And go through all of the things that you have in the garage left that you don't want to get rid of. And why don't you want to get rid of it? Do you want to store this for another, couple of years?
Well, let me go back to that. So a lot of people have stuff in their garage or in their closets, but people also have storage units. They're storing cars, they're storing boats, they're storing all this other stuff that's just, like you said, dead weight, and their liabilities because they're having to pay for that storage.
But those are memories.
Well,
No, seriously. Like
this is
people,
what the brain is for. Brain is for memories.
well, yes. And the other thing that I think of is, do you want to store those memories or do you want to make more?
Yeah.
And that's
Because
something.
that could be the difference.
Well, that's the thing that kind of blew me away is when people have that conversation with me. Okay, I've got a storage unit. I'm like, you're paying how much, all that stuff adds up. So yes, when you have job loss, get rid of some of the stuff that is literally costing you per month, slim down, and then, figure out how to partner up. Like I'm even doing that long term. I'm going, okay, well, if things change for me and if this changes and this goes on, then I'm looking at every single little plan, every big plan, that there is, and I'm working towards those plans. If it never happens, then that's fine. But if it does happen, then I'm prepared. Now, yes, I'm an Eagle Scout. I'm going to throw that out there. Be prepared. But everybody can be prepared. They don't have to be an Eagle Scout,
Yeah.
to have that, thinking. You just have to have the ability to say, you know what, I'm willing to work. I'm willing to declutter. I'm willing to move faster and pivot faster in these trying times and this time of loss.
Yeah, just because your job is steady right now doesn't mean it necessarily always will be. I mean, a lot of our friends in the film and television sector, they're scrambling. They're calling everybody they know. Hey, do you have any work? Do you have any work? Do you have any work? With this upcoming possible writer's strike, so many of them are just sitting, waiting for the phone to ring. And that's a dangerous place to be in if you have a mortgage, you've got a family, you've got upcoming bills. I mean, taxes, this is April. There's a lot of, people paying out taxes because a lot of them are self-employed. You don't want to get to that point. If you assume the money's always going to come in, but you really need that cushion, that margin.
I'm not a big person of sell your house, but I'm going to tell you right now, every time I've done something that I'm not necessarily a big fan of, there's a reason for it. Okay. So here's a perfect example. Okay. Look, you get in a situation where you're pushed up against the wall. Nothing seems to be opening up. You're like, okay, well, I've got this asset. I got this house. Well, turn it into a good thing then. Like, how could you pivot and sell your house? And then, for example, a lot of people are moving in with their parents. Okay. So this isn't necessarily a bad thing because, your parents are getting older and, you need to take care of them. So either you're going to have to put them in a home, which is going to cost money, or you're going to have to create a room in your house to take care of them if that's your thing. But another thing that you can possibly do too is look at how much does your parents own on their house? How much do you owe on your house? And it may be a situation that you say, okay, how are you structuring this? Who are you leaving it to? Is this house going to, me? Is it going to, my siblings, this, that, and the other? And you could go, hey, how about we do this? Why don't I sell off my house, move into your place, and put that equity that I had in my house and pay off yours? Like these are situations that, obviously, the first thing I hear people say, oh, well, I couldn't do that. Look, the answer is you could run the numbers just like anything else. Does it make sense? Does it make sense to do this? And does it make sense to pivot? I mean, your parents, they made a refinanced and have a huge interest rate. You may have a low interest rate, so that might not be the best situation, but they could be like, okay, well, let's sell off our house and let's move in with you. Okay. And we'll come in because, we're going to have to pay for something anyways and pay off your house. So there's all kinds of, why it would make sense to sell.
Well, so you take an older parent, okay? They've probably been in their house for a number of years. They say, I can't afford to go buy anything else because I don't have, number one, like a huge sizable down payment, unless they're going to cash out that equity from their current home. But they don't want to change their tax basis for their house. But if you live in California, Prop 19 may apply to you. You could transfer that tax basis of the house that you currently have into a different home. So let's say, like you're talking about, you're wanting to move in with your elderly parents, but they've already downsized. They're in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. That's not going to work for you to move in there unless, you figure out some way to build an ADU. But maybe if you sold your place, your condo that you've been living in, they say they'll sell their place, move that tax basis over. You guys could get a property with a house and an ADU. You could get a 5-bedroom house with, separate wings of bedrooms. You just really have to be creative. Like I said, maybe you don't have elderly parents that you want to move into, but you've got that RV sitting on the side of the house. Why not go live in that and rent your house out? What if you have a friend with an ADU or a room above their garage that you want to go and stay in? They could give that to you for maybe real cheap rent. You could go around and turn your house into a rental. Now, not everybody wants to be landlords, and I get that. Maybe you don't become a typical landlord. You don't have a long-term tenant. Maybe you Airbnb. You can leave all of your furniture there, all of your, decorations, rent it out on Airbnb if the laws are allowable in your area, or try a midterm rental, a month-to-month rental that's furnished. I mean, everybody thinks of travel nurses. That's like one of the best examples of this. They go and they work in a hospital for approximately 3 months. I mean, their contracts could vary, but let's say they're going to go there for 3 months. Where are they going to stay? They can't stay in a hotel room because they need to have access to, make their own meals. They, aren't going to just stay in a long-term rental because it won't have any furniture, and they're not going to move their life around every 3 months. A midterm rental is the perfect situation for them, and there's not that many out there, especially if you live near a hospital, especially if you live near a college. These are great options as midterm furnished rentals.
The other thing is to don't get stagnant in your thinking. A job loss is a bad thing. Okay. Everybody understands losing anything is a bad thing. Okay. But how can it be a good thing? Well, let me tell you this. Now you lost your job. Now you have all this time. So take that time and put it towards some of these things, and it's not an overnight thing, but all of a sudden, you may be working a couple days and saying, "Oh, I don't like this. I tried this. I've studied this. I've done this. This doesn't work." The other thing is too, I've pivoted. I mean, I've done jobs where I worked at a supermarket because you got pregnant and we were going to have a baby. And I was working in the, music business, I think five times the amount of money that I was getting paid at the supermarket. And people were like, "What are you doing? You're working at a supermarket." I'm like, "Look, I need to provide, for my family." So the thinking was this: look, go work at the supermarket and then turn around. And as I was working at the supermarket, what was I doing? I was working on songs. I was working on this. I was working on all kinds of stuff outside of that.
And the connections that you made in that supermarket are
sure.
unreal.
But it wasn't about that. It was just forward momentum.
Yeah.
So I don't look at things are, it's not a level. Like all of a sudden you're working at this, high paying job and now you're at a low paying job. No, yes, your income is high. Then it goes to low, but then it's an income, it's a revenue stream. And creating that revenue stream, you need to increase other stuff in order to, make that revenue stream, bigger and better.
What was great about when you worked at the supermarket too, is it allowed you to be home with the new baby way more than you would have been had you been still working in that other job, because there were overtime hours. There was a lot of travel that you were doing with that other job. When you had the steady supermarket job, you came home, not at the same time every day, but you had your set schedule and then you were around. I remember I had to go back to work very early because I was a personal assistant. You can't really personal assist, from home. So I went back and you were able to watch our daughter instead of us having to figure out a childcare option. So it really saved us a lot of money in that respect. So you're right. Don't stop thinking. Part of what you were saying earlier too about clearing out the clutter, moving forward, is really to release your mind by being active. So you can get so caught up in that bad negative mindset. Oh my gosh, nobody wants me. I can't find a job. I've just been laid off. I'm a failure. My parents think that I'm, a giant loser because I just lost my job. My friends don't want to hang out with me because I can't pay to go out to eat and all that stuff. No, if you move forward, if you're working towards clearing out that clutter, just moving your body and getting out of that stagnation of just, I'm going to watch Netflix and wait for a job, that can really help propel you forward, get you thinking in a new way.
Working at the supermarket was, it was like, I didn't like it. I loved it. No, but the reason why was what I was doing, working in the music business, working in entertainment. My brain is constantly working. And at the supermarket, I could show up, be happy, smile at people, and not think. It's very straightforward for the most part. Okay. And I'm not saying it's a thinkless job, but it's very straightforward. When you're collecting carts around the parking lot, I actually wrote, because our daughter was our daughter hadn't been born, I was writing lullabies. I mean, this melody, sleep little baby, the stars are above, your dreams are all calling, you angel of love, and rest your eyes, darling. That was written when I was pushing carts.
Wow. It's our daughters sing that. I mean, I have friends that sing that to their kids because you wrote that for our daughter.
Pushing carts. Yeah, so it's again, you lose a job and you gain another one. And it's one of these things. Sure, sit at home, send out resumes, sit at home, do this stuff, but also go out. Okay, sit at home, go out, walk on the street, talk to people. Go there. I remember that supermarket job. I literally, I'm not, I don't want to get off topic, but I was in a different state. I literally was in a different state, and I felt that there's no jobs around where I was at or whatever. And I went and I looked in a different state, and I got a job in a different state. And you said, well, I'm not moving until, you find us a place to live over there. And I literally did it. I made that happen.
You made it happen.
So it is a hard, tough thing that happens with job loss. But at the same time, it's also a pivoting point to do something that will allow you to do what you love.
Right. I mean, even get roommates. If you've got a 3-bedroom condo and you're a single tech guy, I know you didn't want to be that guy that got roommates, but just get a couple roommates. You may be able to rent those rooms out for the price of the mortgage, and you can live there rent free, essentially mortgage free, because they're paying it for you. We've heard of friends that moved into their garage and rented their house out. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. Don't take that negative mindset and get stuck. Don't go into default, okay? Find your options. If you need to sell your house, talk to a trusted real estate professional. And if you are behind on your payments, you may have to talk to your lender before you can do that. We've all seen what happened back in the day with short sales and foreclosures and all that kind of stuff. We don't want you to get to that point. We want you to, be wise and think about this stuff before it happens. So we're not financial experts.
By no means.
But we are brainstorming professionals, and we want to see you succeed. Any parting thoughts?
Yeah. Stick around. Okay. If you look around and a bunch of your friends are unemployed, okay, there's power in that and strength in numbers. But for the most part, get out of that group, hang out, or even talk to people that aren't unemployed, okay, and that haven't lost their job. The reason why it's two different mindsets. Okay, the people in general, that's what they're talking about, how they lost. Anybody in loss. I mean, I'm dealing with loss of a loved one right now, right? So my mind is not as clear as it could be, and the reality of it is, if you're around people, Diana, come here.
The mailman's here, guys.
Yeah. Diana, no, Diana. Oh, there's a couple barks that you're going to hear. So, you know, you got to get around people that don't have the loss, because those people are going to pull you out of the
Yeah.
fog.
Yeah.
They really will, just in their thinking, and it's you got to pull as well. Like, it's not just them pulling you out of the fog and pulling you out of the loss that you're in, but it's them helping you, and you being willing to be helped. I mean, I talked to somebody this morning. You know, they're not willing to be helped. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
love them to death. Completely not willing to be helped.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do? But at the same time, if you're willing, then reach out. Comment in the comments. If you have any thoughts or questions, or hey, what would you do in this situation? I'll give you my best thoughts, and
Yeah.
my best hopes and prayers too.
Yeah, absolutely. Write in the comments what you're dealing with, if you feel comfortable. Otherwise, throw out some hypothetical situations and let's brainstorm together. This is Natalie Oman with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, California Properties, DRE 02085495, and my lovely, handsome husband and co-investor, Johnny Kubelka.
Take care, you guys.
Have a good one.